The air was filled with the stench of death, and the land was covered with blood. A battle had been waged between gods and men, and we had lost. The survivors were indoctrinated into a new religion that banished the old gods and replaced them with new ones. Vile, wicked, pumpkin-headed monstrosities, these new gods were evil in every way. They had no names unto themselves, but collectively, they were known only as the Strawmen.
Lord of the Pulp by ReapersHorror.
The people gathered for their sacrifice to the Strawmen. They traveled for miles to give themselves freely, offering their flesh to be devoured by the creatures. All were to be eaten, for all were worthy. One by one they approached the being sitting on a throne.
We require your flesh, child. Did you offer yourself freely to your god? Or must we take it by force?
I give my body freely to become a part of my God.
Good.
The woman stepped forward, bowed slightly toward the Strawman, and then walked up to one of the other creatures. Swiftly, she was lifted into the air by a mighty pair of arms and tossed into the monster's mouth.
Delicious.
There were no screams of fear that came from the crowd, for they were all pleased at the sight of what was to also happen to them. They were all anxious for when it would be their turn to become part of their gods.
Next!
A young man approached the Strawman as he sat on his throne of vines.
I sense fear still in you, child. Why do you tremble?
The Strawman asked accusingly.
I'm afraid.
Pathetic human. If you do not give your flesh freely, you will never attain access to the gift that is the kingdom. You do wish to become one with your god, do you not?
Yes, my lord. I do wish to become one with you. It's just...
Good.
But before he could finish, the Strawman cut him off and took a big bite out of his jugular vein.
Now who's next?
The man standing next in line swallowed hard and did his best to look brave as he stepped before the beast.
Me, sir? I'm next. Take me so that I may become part of you.
The man shook with excitement.
Yes, you will do just fine.
The Strawman looked over at his offspring and took note of their ghoulish features and characteristics. One picked its teeth, while another was busy picking its nose. All were well fed and growing with each sacrifice, that was, all except for one that stood off to the side looking up at a tree branch. This one was smaller than the others, and its head appeared somehow misshapen. It was obvious that this was the runt of the patch.
My
My lord, the defective one is yet to receive the sacrifice.
Very well.
The straw man nodded.
It is time that all my children grow big and strong.
But still, the runt paid no heed to the other creatures or the sacrifices that were going on. Instead, its attention was fully transfixed on the nest of crows that rested in the branch directly above. The crows that inhabited the nest were not unaware of the pumpkin-headed creature that stood just below their perch. After all, crows are known for being incredibly intelligent, especially for birds. But birds they remained. And one thing birds are especially known for is their aim. This angered the runt so much that it pulled at the tree branch and shook it violently, sending the crows into flight and their freshly laid eggs spiraling to the ground. The birds were unharmed, but the nest and the eggs were completely destroyed. Seeing their home destroyed and their unhatched eggs laying cracked at the monster's feet infuriated the crows. They cried out in rage and panic at the sight, calling attention to all the other crows nearby. The shrieks of anger and sorrow were echoed for miles by the other crows in the area. Immediately they took to the sky, all flying in the direction of the straw man and the other pumpkin-headed monsters.
Blackbirds bring death!
One of the monsters cried out as it pointed in the direction of the oncoming murder. The sky was so full of crows that it nearly blackened out the sun. Downward they swooped, attacking like a swarm of angry bees.
My children, attack!
The creatures took defensive positions as the crows came ever increasingly closer in attack formation. The first shot was fired, hitting one of the crows square in the chest with its 𝐒𝐫𝐼𝐵𝐵 mess of snot, sending it hurtling to its death.
Yeah, there's one!
Don't celebrate just yet. The battle has just begun.
The murder of crows was now upon them, and they were completely surrounded by the swarming birds. One of the monsters plucked a crow out of the air and bit its head right off. The creatures fought fiercely, but the murder of crows continued to grow with every minute. There seemed to be no end to their numbers. The crows attacked the creatures en masse, clawing at the monster's skin with their talons. They tore at the creature's vines and pecked their eyes out with their beaks.
There's too many, but we cannot give up. Not yet.
What's going on? I don't understand.
The monsters. They're fighting the crows. And they're losing.
But they're gods. How can that be?
The people began to understand. Then, one of them finally came out and said what was now evidently true.
That's 'cause they're not gods at all.
Yeah, he's right.
If they fear, they can die. And if they can die, we can kill them.
Yeah, let's get 'em!
The people charged at the beast with all their might. They grabbed sticks, rocks, and anything else they could find to use as weapons. A very large and muscular man managed to pick up a boulder and brought it down on top of one of the pumpkin creatures, crushing its head. Another person pierced one of the creatures through the chest with a sharp stick, while another smashed one of their faces with a large branch. The man continued bashing the creature's head in until it was nothing but a mass of bloody pumpkin pulp. The people had nothing hold them back. They were relentless in their attack against the straw men. One by one, the pumpkin creatures fell at the hands of the mob, until only one straw man was left.
Enough! I am your god! You should all be groveling at my feet!
But the people were no longer listening to the straw man's commands. They now knew the truth. These creatures weren't gods at all. They were monsters. The people surrounded the beast and began tearing it limb from limb until all that remained was its head.
You think you've won, don't you? What fools you are! Mankind is not worthy of inheriting the earth. You are all doomed! Doomed!
And you call yourself a god? Pathetic.
He said before he stomped on the creature's head, bringing an end to the straw man's reign of terror.